Real quick, if someone were to ask you what's the weirdest Godzilla film you know, what would your answer be? Now, most people's answers would be Godzilla vs. Hedorah, Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. Hell, Son of Godzilla might even take your spot. But if you ask me personally, the weirdest and most bizarre Godzilla film to me is Ebra Horror of the Deep. Now, the first and most obvious answer as to why that is because it wasn't originally supposed to be a Godzilla film. It was supposed to be a King Kong film. Following the success of the 1966 show, aptly named The King Kong Show, produced by Toho, Toho wanted to produce this film. However, Bass rejected the idea because it didn't follow too closely with the original series. So, in favor, Toho replaced King Kong with their own big green money-making machine, Godzilla. As a result of this, we have the most out-of-the-box yet fun and adventurous Godzilla films I've personally ever seen. The film follows the titular main character Ryota and his teen friends as they steal a yacht and wash aboard Lychee Island, which it and its inhabitants are being enslaved by the terrorist organization, the Red Bamboo. Now, I don't want to go into a quick summary recap because that's not what this video is about, but I do remember my grandma having this on VHS and me watching it time and time again at her old home. I remember being obsessed with all the new and unique locations, the characters, the fast-paced plot. You would think that a plot that packed with all these different characters, all these different organizations, and kaiju would be, disjointed or feel all over the place, but it actually wraps it up pretty nice. I especially enjoyed the human plotline more than I thought I would. I think these characters are pretty fun, they're entertainable, not the usual scientists or adventurers we are stuck with, or not really stuck with, but we are introduced to in the original Showa Godzilla film era. But this is a nice change or switch up of the formula in my opinion. Bamboo's operations mess about, causing nuclear waste to be dumped into the ocean, which inadvertently caused the creation of Ebra and the giant condor. I just think it's a nice little parallel to Godzilla in that sense, how all three creatures didn't really ask to be made this way, and they're victims of humankind's, naivete and their obsessive need for, discovery and all of this. I think it's really nice stuff. It's obviously not too deep, but for what we do have, I think it's pretty enjoyable and favorable in the movie. I will say, seeing Showa Mothra again made me appreciate her redemption a lot more. I didn't enjoy it that much back when I first rewatched her films, or her original film, and then going all the way back into the Showa series. But seeing this now and seeing her development, or her previous or new lives, as she did die in Godzilla vs. Mothra, but seeing all of this is really cool. I really do enjoy Showa Mothra a lot, and I feel like she's a kind of a little bit of an underrated aspect of her character, or she's an underrated iteration of her character is what I mean. I enjoyed her in this film a lot. I think she was definitely a highlight. I don't know. I'm starting to like Mothra a lot more in these recent years. Of course, one of the more unique aspects of this film is the kaiju fights. Godzilla vs. Ebra, I think, is a pretty unique in terms of Godzilla's other fights. They're throwing rocks at each other. They're tearing off each other's limbs. Well, not tearing off each other's limbs. Godzilla tears off Ebra's limb, but I think it's pretty, not gruesome, but it's just unique in the way that we haven't really seen Godzilla fight like this before or really afterward. Really fun and enjoyable when they actually show it on screen. Of course, it's not very long because, well, Ebra isn't that much of a threat to Godzilla, but still, it's just a nice little fun fight. And whenever Ebra does reappear in whether it be Godzilla comics or new Godzilla media, I always think back to that first fight they had and always give myself a good little chuckle. It's a nice fight and pretty campy, and what I can say about the whole film, the film is pretty campy, not too big of stakes, but it doesn't really need to be. It's still enjoyable, it still has that adventurous tone to it, that nice little, other island, we're discovering all these new things, we're helping out the locals, we're defeating the evil big organization. It's just fun, nice, feels like a little bit of 90s camp, but which is weird considering the fact that it took place in the 60s, but I don't know, again, the whole film just feels adventurous. Like, it feels like you're stepping into a new side or seeing a new side of Godzilla as well. The leftovers of the Kong inspiration can definitely be felt as Godzilla does seemingly kind of fall in love with one of the human protagonists, but we don't talk about that. Overall, I just think Ebra Horror of the Deep is a weird, unique, and just fun little campy Godzilla flick that doesn't get talked about much in the fandom and in its mythology. I just think it's a nice little film, and I don't know, I think it's pretty weird also as well. It definitely doesn't fit Godzilla in some aspects, but I don't know. I like it, and I think it's nice. It would be cool to see like Toho step more outside the box with this kind of things, but I know anytime they do that now, it's just fan rage, fan rage, fan rage. I'm not gonna say that. Sometimes it is warranted. They do make a lot of questionable decisions, but I don't know. I live for the more unique and out of the box and different kinds of Godzillas. I don't know. Godzilla's been around for so long. I feel like there's a lot you can do with the character, so there's nothing wrong with shaking it up every now